What is up, guys? Welcome to episode number 161. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I got a doozy for you guys today. But before I get into who our guest is, I got to talk about our sponsors. First sponsor is Crystal Lackey at Stockton Mortgage. You can get in touch with Crystal at 502-615-0743. You want to get in touch with her with any home loan needs, any mortgage needs, any refinancing, anything that comes with the home buying process. Get in touch with Crystal at Stockton Mortgage. Again, her phone number is 502-615-0743. That's Crystal Lackey at Stockton Mortgage. Stockton Mortgage is an equal housing lender, MLS number 8259. Crystal Lackey, MLS number 1735979. One more time, phone number 502-615-0743. Our other sponsor, boom, right there, Dellium Clothing, spelled Bdellium, pronounced Dellium, even though there is a B at the beginning, I know, but it's pronounced Dellium. Dellium is men's and women's minimalistic brand that focuses on modern aesthetic and quality. Everything comes pre-shrunk, so you don't have to worry about anything shrinking or anything like that when you put it in the dryer. It has a men's line right now at Him's Gentleman Boutique. You can find them on Facebook, Dellium Clothing, or at Dellium Clothing on Instagram. Again, that's at BDELLIOM Clothing on Instagram, or BDELLIOM Clothing on Facebook. Make sure you hit up my friend Isaac. I know he told me he has some type of thing going on this weekend, so maybe you can get out there and see him. But today's guest is a special guest. Those of you that love basketball are going to love this episode. Those of you that love reality television are going to love this episode. Those of you that love both are really going to love this episode. Those of you that have Netflix and like the show Last Chance U are really, really going to love this episode, because today's guest is East LA Community College coach John Mosley. John Mosley, if you've never heard of him, name one of the 50 most impactful coaches in JUCO men's basketball. He's the head coach, again, at East Los Angeles College. He's going into, I think it's his 9th or 10th year. You can find him on the newest season of Last Chance U on Netflix. For those of you that haven't watched it yet, fantastic season. And I can't wait for you guys to hear this interview. So without further ado, Coach John Mosley. All right, Coach, I want to thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
Doing well, Brandon. It's still, we still haven't 100% got going here. We're right here in LA. It's been a little bit tough, but it's given me the chance to kind of, do this and kind of reach out and speak to people who would maybe had some questions about the show or inspired. And then probably the best part is I've been able to spend time with the family and kind of, do that stuff. So that's been good, but not being able to connect with our guys, and that's been tough, but everything else has been good.
Yeah, the pandemic was kind of, like you just said, it was kind of weird because you did get to spend more time with family and stuff, but you didn't get to see, some of your friends or maybe even like the older parts of your family because of how at risk they were. And I live clear across the country from you, but you hear how bad things are in California still, or how many things are still closed down. So it's still pretty closed down there.
Yeah, and I think we should be moving forward, but who knows the reasons why we're moving so slow, or we're being so cautious, or I really have no idea. I can give opinions, but that opinion doesn't matter. It's a little frustrating. I've spoken out about how it's affecting. If we say we really want change, we really want this, to be better. If we really want to help our young people, we really want to help, the African-American young men, then open the gym. I think I said it, it kind of bothered some people. I said, hey, open the gym. They don't need another stimulus check. They need the gym open. They need access so that they can make change. The stimulus check will just kind of mask it, put a Band-Aid for a second. I think we're safe enough now. I think everything's died down enough that, according to all of the tiers, we should be back active, but we haven't been given the okay. So we're still waiting for that.
And so getting into the questions here. So you were born in California, correct? Born and raised there?
Yep, born and raised.
So who or what kind of got you into basketball?
You know what's crazy? That's a good question. A lot of people say what got you into coaching, but here's what's crazy with basketball. So that was almost the last sport that I first, I tried initially. I think I was 7 or 8. My dad, he led a Boy Scout or a Cub Scout. We weren't Boy Scouts then, it was Cub Scouts. And then you move up. And so he led that. And there was like, when you're in the little organization, they send stuff for, the boys to sign up for. And the first thing was Pop Warner football. So he got all of those Boy Scout kids and signed up for Pop Warner. And then the next thing that he found to sign up was for baseball. Signed up for baseball. And then I think it was track. And then finally, it was time, it was a basketball sign up he saw, and we did that. And then I kind of stuck with that. Had more success with that, and it kind of stuck with me, and it kind of fit our family. It fit what we were doing. So that's kind of how it went forward. And my dad, and I was fortunate enough. So we hear the stories, but I was fortunate enough. I had mom and dad at home. I still had all the crazy stuff going on when I walked outside. But when I walked in the home, there was a level of stability. So, there was still a fork in the road. I still had to decide if I was going to stay in the gutter or whatever. But because I had a level of stability when I walked through the doors of my home, it helped me make that decision to kind of go the right direction. But because of that, he was always into sports and kind of that the basketball kind of stuck. Although I played sports, and then when you got to high school, you got to kind of figure out what you're going to do if you want to really excel. And basketball was the thing.
Yeah. So speaking on that, you went to Washington Prep High School there in LA. Where you played basketball and you ran track. What did you do on the track team? Did you just run track? Did you do any like high jump or anything like that? Or
well, here's the thing. So sometimes they're still looking for more guys, and I think the track guys are always like, let's go look at the football and basketball guys. They got some speed. Let's see if we can add. So I think that's what happened. And then some of the track guys, of course, they're saying, hey man, the track meet is going to be a lot of beautiful women on the track field. So the track meets are like, you'll have like 5 or 10 schools there. Like, so it was like after the basketball season, and you're like, well, let's just go run track and have fun. And then ultimately found out that I had a couple of events that I was pretty good in. I knew I wasn't speed, but I was pretty good in the 400 where I had enough speed and I had enough stamina. So it would be 400. And actually was one of the top runners in the state in the 800. So it was interesting. So I ran those because the football players was like the fast guys. And we had we were really, really, fast group. They were really speedy group, running the 4x and all that. So yeah, those are my two main events was that. The
nice.
400, 800. Yeah.
Nice. So after high school, you went to East LA College, where you now coach to play basketball. What kind of went into that decision?
Well, so just like a lot of the young men that I deal with, there was 2 parts to mine. I wasn't great academically, and that was number 1. And number 2, there wasn't many opportunities for me. I wasn't ready. I'm not, everybody, I'm 47 years old. I'm not afraid to admit that I wasn't the greatest. I was good enough everywhere I went. I was good enough, but I wasn't the guy who was a no-brainer to take. So there wasn't many scholarship opportunities, and plus academically, I was just average. I wasn't awful. I was just average. So that wasn't something that was impressive. So I ended up going to the community college, and then from there just moved on from there. But glad it happened. It was just another level, another space where I had to kind of work myself through, and I ended up having some individual success. The team, we weren't as great at the time, but ended up having some individual success here.
Yeah. So how far away from where you grew up was the community college?
Literally 15, 20 minutes,
Gotcha.
Driving.
So
15 minutes. So we're in LA. I'm in South Central LA. And so it's East LA. So it's the east, more of the east side of LA. So I'm in South Central, and then East LA is where you start to go more into the Latino community. But the coach was really pressing in terms of recruiting me. So I kind of went a little bit away. And 20 minutes doesn't seem far away, but it's far away when you got probably 5 other community colleges that are closer to you.
So what, like you just mentioned, while you were at East LA, you had some individual success. You actually led the entire state in assists per game at 11.1. And in the show, which we'll talk more about the Last Chance U here later on. But during the show, you mentioned you were being recruited by San Diego State and San Jose State. Correct? Is that correct?
Yeah. So what happened, and at the time, just to put it in context, the San Diego State, it wasn't the San Diego State that it is now. So they were struggling, and then San Jose State. So those were the 2 Division Ones that were actively recruiting me. And I think part of that was because I was a all-state honorable mention. You're talking about out of over 90 schools, there's all-state teams. There's 5, 5, 5. So there's first team, second team, and then an honorable mention. So I'm one of the top, 20 players if you're honorable mention out of 90 schools, right? So that warrants some attention, and the top assist leader, which means, and I grew up in the Magic Johnson era, man. Yeah. So I was all in the Magic. I was Showtime. So the assist weighed more value. I had some toughness because I was from the inner city. I defended well. But again, it came down to the last minute, and I still was, kind of a procrastinator academically. And I had some classes to finish in the summer. And because you have those classes to finish, the schools aren't going to wait on you. They want you done in the spring of your sophomore season. And so I wasn't done. I was kind of lollygagging through the summer, and it didn't work out. And eventually it kind of led to where, hey, missed opportunity. And then, I ended up, where some other schools, the schools that were recruiting me, I had to choose from the other schools that weren't Division Ones. I had to choose from some of those.
So between those two, because I'm sure if that hadn't have happened, you would have gone to Division One. Did you have in your mind who you wanted to go play for before all that stuff happened?
Well, I liked the San Diego State deal. Of course, at the time, I wanted to go to UNLV. That's the era with Tarkanian, and you had Larry Johnson and all those guys. I wanted to go there, but I wasn't good enough for there. But I was good enough to draw attention to be recruited by just the 2 Division Ones. And if that was the case, it was going to be San Diego State. And part of it was almost, what made it really go away was a buddy of mine who was with us. It was Isaac Burton. We were even going to be like a package deal and going. And so I was less attractive when he committed to Arizona State, and so that made me even less attractive. Plus, I had the academics to finish. And so I ended up, I would have, it would have probably been San Diego State, but I had to choose, another situation, which actually was the best thing that ever happened to me. And all those decisions, all the things that happened have changed my life.
Yeah. So you're going into that, what you mentioned there, after you didn't go to Division One, you went to NAIA Division One, Christian College, the Masters College.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did it feel to lead that team to 2 regional championships as well as 2 NAIA Division One national tournaments?
Well, you know what? Bill Oates is phenomenal. He's my mentor because I ended up, coaching there as well with him. But I understood really how to win. I was starting to understand the game of basketball. You're talking about that level, those NAIA levels, man. They're kind of becoming extinct now, but there were some phenomenal coaches at the NAIA schools in those 80s and 90s. NAIA was the first organization even before the NCAA. So that level was phenomenal. And the league that I was in, it was private schools, and it was kind of like a small Ivy League where you got private schools, conservative, great, phenomenal coaches that not as many rules. So you got these coaches that are there. We get these great players. And then just to learn the game from this great coach and to be able to win, like truly win and play the game the right way. I think before it was kind of more on talent that I would play, but I learned how to play the game the right way. And it changed my whole perspective on basketball. And I saw that even at the NAIA level, these great players, you know, I walk in the gym. All right. So here's the deal, man. And my buddy, I walk in the gym and I'm from the inner city. So everybody I see is just these athletes and these black athletes, and they're going. And then let's say the inner city of LA was the mecca of basketball in Southern California.
Yeah.
Now there's the city players, they go out and play at these private schools, right? So when I'm in the city, I used to, when we traveled to play valley schools and half of the team was white, and we're like, oh, we're going to kick their butt. And we did. I go to the Masters College, half the team's white. There's one particular player, this cocky white kid, man. I'm like, there's no white kid that's going to beat me. That was just how you thought coming from the city, right? The kid comes down, he shoots a three, he like comes down, and I'm backed up way at the, because nobody in the inner city shoots, right? We all drive and fancy. We all wanted to be Jordan. He drives, and he almost shoots, steps across half court and shoots a three. I'm like, that is the worst, the dumbest shot. What type of person are you who shoots that? He makes it. Comes down again, crosses half court line again, shoots it, makes it again. I'm like, what? Oh, he can shoot that? I get up and try to guard him. He looks at me cocky, and he just goes right around me and scores. I'm like, where did this dude come from? Like, where does, I didn't know white boys can play basketball and they can jump. So come to find out, he ends up leading our team like the 2 years. He's one of my best friends now. He was in my wedding. Comes to find out, he's NAI All-American, right? His name is Mike Penberthy. He played with the Lakers, won a ring with Shaq and Kobe in 2001. He's now an assistant coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. He just won a ring this past year.
Wow.
And he's one of the best shooters that he was one of the best shooters for about 2 or 3 years, had the best shooting percentage in the world, shooting threes at 53%, like when he was in Europe. So he won a ring with the Lakers, traveled to Europe. One of my best friends. So it humbled me when I went to the NAIA level to realize that there was a high level of players at that level as well. I don't care what college you go to, and this is what I love about sharing with the guys that I work with. I don't try to just sell my guys on going Division I. I'm like, hey, man, there's a great level everywhere you go. And that level changed me. It made me believe in basketball, and there's players all over the place. And I was so humbled, and I learned the game. And then guess what? I find myself coming down when we were playing. I was looking for him. We're in championship games. I'm like, where's Mike Penberthy? I'm trying to find him. And I had my cousin on the other side, James Mosley, and 6'9" Brazilian, 7-foot kid from Northern California. I mean, so the experience, man, and the love of the game came from that experience at the Masters College, because I saw a different world of basketball, and it was good basketball. You know, I'm just assuming the basketball I knew is from the city, and it's, and I really didn't know, but I saw good basketball. I learned the game, and there's other players in the world, you know. So I learned my lesson when I walked in there and had my first pickup game. And then not on top of that, I was going in as a junior college transfer as a junior. And not only that, he was a sophomore, and he destroyed me. And he's this white boy with long floppy hair. And I'm like, who the hell is this? To find out, he's a great player and, best friend, one of my best friends now. We sit literally text all the time. Our sons are the same age now. And so we text, and, he's with the Lakers. I text him the other day, like, hey, man, dude, who the hell put this scouting report together for Steph Curry? That was a great scouting report, but he still got 30-something. Like, good thing the scouting report was great, because he probably should have had 50,
Yeah. That was a great game last night. Did you stay up and watch the entire thing?
Oh, yeah, I watched it. When you say stay up, it's West Coast, so
Yeah, I forget about that. Yeah,
we get
here
a chance
here the
to,
game ended at close to 1:00. So
at one. All of our games, our latest games start at 7:30. So we get to, yeah.
So I remember you spoke on kind of being disappointed at first at going to the Masters College.
Very.
But you talked about a mission trip that changed your life. What happened on that trip that made such a big impact on your life?
Well, I was disappointed because I thought, first of all, I'm thinking like I'm going to this level and I'm going to destroy it because I'm John Mosley, right? And the coach, I really learned, and I think was mentioned in the show, like when I shared, and that was one part they cut out. I was like, oh, you didn't finish my story. When I shared, like, hey, the coach said, John, you're not good enough. Okay, so that was humbling. They didn't finish the part like I was good enough, but what he was like, you're not good enough at what I need you to do. And so it humbled me, and I didn't play as much until I figured it out. Once I figured it out, it was all good. But what happened is, as I got through, I learned how to win. I learned some moments, but I traveled over to Brazil at the end. Now, mind you, my whole intention of that mission trip was I'm at the end of my college career and just to go to play pro ball. It's not to go on a mission trip. That was kind of my way of sneaking overseas because my buddy said, hey, after you come on the mission trip, you can try out for a couple teams. I'll get you set up. I'm like, okay. But lo and behold, the purpose of the whole deal was, I think God had a hand on that, was I went over there and we would play exhibitions against these pro teams. At halftime, we would share our faith. And then as we did that, we would do clinics around town. But ultimately what happened was when everybody else left, the teams left and mission team, I'm there by myself, ready to try out for these teams. I'm isolated. There was a point of consecration where all I had was a Bible, right, and devotion book, spend time in the Word of God, like normal. But then all of a sudden, there's nothing else to do. I don't understand television or anything like that. Can't speak the language. I understand a few things, but I don't speak it. So I find myself spending time in the Word. It goes from 45 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. So I'm here a couple weeks, and all of a sudden, my 45-minute devotion goes from 45 minutes to almost 2-3 hours in the morning. But guess what? Then I'll go out and work out and try out for teams. And then now, guess what? I got this hunger to get deeper in the Word, get deeper in the Bible, and then I study more. So I go from 45 minutes to almost 6 hours a day. And then it changed me.
Oh, wow.
As a believer, it changed my view of God. Like, I'm so, as a person, like, who am I? I'm so awful compared to who God is when you really look and see who he is and you really study his word. Now, mind you, I'm at the Christian college and I had to study. It was like you have to take units or classes in Christian theology. Yeah. So I learned all that stuff, but I didn't really learn it. I just got the grade in it,
Yeah.
But when you really focus in and you get this hunger to learn, then it changed me. So I came with this level of humility, and I was just like, man, the service for God changed, and that's what God did. And I did play a little bit the next, I think a couple months later, I ended up going to Brazil and playing. My buddy, and I had another buddy invited me over there. But the desire changed when I left that Australian situation and I came home. I was supposed to go back, but the desire changed. My, college coach said, hey, come back and help me out. He said, I had one class to finish, so that was the connection. And I came back and it kind of changed everything. And my hearts and my desires changed.
So what was your degree in when you graduated?
It was in kinesiology. Well, physical education at the time, but now it's kinesiology. Yeah.
And you just mentioned, so you had a brief stint overseas, and where did you, so you played in Australia and Brazil, is that right?
Yeah, so Brazil, afterwards, it was a town called Limeta. And so I'm there and just played a little bit there. And then in Australia, my buddy played for the Sydney Kings, which was the top team, like the NBL team. He says, hey, man, we caught talking. I had just left Brazil. He says, hey, man, none of the boys in the hood got a passport, man. I'm over here all alone, just chilling. I got all this money. I said, I got a passport. He said, what? Come on. So he flies me over there. And then I try out for the teams over there, the Sydney Comets and the Sutherland Sharks. So I play on the lower level teams over there in Australia. And then I did well. He's playing for the Sydney Kings, which is like, it's like the Lakers. They're actually purple and gold over there in Australia, right? And I'm playing for the lower level, the Sydney Comets and the Sutherland Sharks. So I come home thinking like, well, I'm going to go back and sign another contract with those lower level teams or whatever. But then, you know, I was offered to come and finish that. I had one class to finish. And the desire kind of changed because I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to Australia and get in trouble. And, you know, it just wasn't the lifestyle. And I lost the desire and my desire. And I saw that coaching atmosphere and it kind of changed me, you know. And I said, you know what? I really was convicted. Most guys will go back and play. But I was like, you know what? I'm probably going to be this level of player. I'm not going to make much money. You know, it's really not that much money at those levels.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's about $3,000 to $5,000 a month, but 4 months is no money. You know, it's no money.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds good. Oh, 5,000, that's not bad a month. Yeah, but when it's only 4 months, it's no money.
So, two questions on this one. So, what was it like to come back and be a coach at your alma mater, even if it was an assistant? And as an assistant coach, like, what were your main roles when you came back to the Master's College to coach?
You know what? I just came in to kind of be like a mentor and I was still young. So I really didn't have, there was another assistant coach, really didn't have that much of a role other than, hey, come be a part of it and help us out. I kind of found my role as I was good with the players and getting them to buy in because I had just learned how to buy in to Coach Oates' system. And I was getting the players to buy in. So I was really good at that. Another thing I was good at was I said, well, let me go out and start looking at some players. And I was really good. I did a good job with recruiting and bringing in some players that normally wouldn't have gone to the college. So I think those are two things. And I got excited about it. And then he just hired me. He says, hey, I'll hire you. And I was like, okay. You know, I think it might have been like $30,000. I was like, oh, this is big money. You know, big money in the late 90s. And, you know, I'm early 20s. Oh, $30,000. Oh, I'm good to go. Let's go. Assistant coach. I just met and was introduced to my wife. I'm like, life is great. You know, I'm thinking I'm ready to go now, you know. So yeah, that was kind of my role. And then I just kind of watched and it just kind of built from there.
So after coaching there, you moved on to the Division I level at Cal State Bakersfield. In your opinion, what would you say is the biggest difference between Division I and the level, like let's say the Master's College, and even at the level that you coach now?
Well, the coaching part is no difference in terms of, you know, schematically and how you prepare and all that. There's just more rules at the NCAA level, man. It's so many more rules in regards to how much time you can spend with the guys. And, you know, so a lot of guys get a lot of flack for how the teams look, but there's not much time to prepare with guys. I think it's changed in the past couple of years. The perks are better. You know, you get a car to drive. The budget is bigger. The teams it's fun going into play a lot of I think during the time I was there, we played all the Pac-12 teams in exhibition games, or if not exhibitions, and you know, non-conference games. Travel is great. The recruiting is a whole lot different and tougher. There's a lot of, and this is, I think, part of the reason why it kind of shifts me back to this area is there's a lot of compromising that has to go on to have success, in my opinion. There's some people that are willing to do it. Some people are willing to compromise the way you recruit just to get that great player. And if you don't win at that level, more so than at the NAIA level, you're going to get fired, you know? So
can I ask what you mean by the compromising thing with the recruiting?
Well,
I mean, you don't have to name any specifics or anything like that, of course, but like what do you mean?
You're trying to do everything you need to do with the relationships you have to build. You're trying to offer maybe a player as much as you can offer them and maybe step outside of the rules to get a player, you know, at a Power 5 school, or even at a lower school. If you have a Power 5 school, you have to get those players. And a lot of times what surrounds the 5 stars, 4-star players is what surrounds them is, it's things outside of integrity. Like, there's incentives that you aren't supposed to offer. You got to lure them in, maybe step outside of the rules of recruitment to lure them in. And and that's kind of what happens at a lot of the Power 5 schools. I think, or I at least seen a little bit of it. And some of it should be within the rules, but it's not. And they just do it, and it should be within, like, maybe stepping outside of a recruiting period. You're doing a visitation outside of a recruiting period that helps you gain an advantage. And I think you got to do some of those things to get those players, because if you don't, not only will you not get the television time, which is ultimately what the Power 5s and schools are searching out and looking for, right? It's to get the market, it's to get the funding, that television time that you get, which brings in the dollars to the conferences, to make it to the NCAA tournament, which brings the dollars to the conference, which ultimately brings the trickle down money to your program, which helps pay your salary. Those are the reasons why you want to win. And then what does it take to win? It's getting great players. That's half not even half, the majority of the battle is getting the great players. So you have those where it's win at all costs. And sometimes that means compromising the rules and the integrity of the rules, even if it's been in it just a little bit. And so, man, it gets sticky. It gets real sticky. And I think from a recruiting standpoint, man, you gotta be really creative to draw top players in to help give you an advantage. And you got to be super creative. And sometimes it can be a lot of stress and strain and compromising the rules and stepping outside of what some of the rules are. And at that level, it's just hard to do. It's hard to stay as pure as you can be. I mean, I think at the time you had to limit text messages. You couldn't text message guys. I think you can. It's unlimited now. It's no big deal. At the time, I remember I had to write down my text messages.
Wow.
And so now you would find guys with 3 and 4 phones. So they would have a phone that you couldn't track, and then the phone that the school owned. Right, the phone that the school owned, you'll show that, hey, I called him twice a week. And then there's another phone where you're texting a guy all day long. So that's what I mean. And everybody did it so that you could. Some coaches got fired because they send out extra.
Kelvin Sampson, from IU. Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man, you get fired for sending out a text message. So he lost his job because of that rule. Yeah. And that's what I mean. It doesn't mean it has to be a sin or against the law, but it's just something that you feel convicted about doing. If I want this player, I'm probably gonna have to do that.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it's at, when you talk about Division I, but the perks, especially depending on the level, the perks are so much better.
So with both of your experiences now, as an assistant, you took the head coaching job where you're currently at since 2012. What was the discussion like, not only with the school, but also with your family, and making the decision to take a head coaching job at a much lower level than what you were currently coaching at? I mean, I'm sure that had to be tough to do.
Yeah, I wanted to try out being a head coach. It was tough. And as I shared, man, I think in regards to my faith, I tried so much to do things with honor and integrity. And I actually think that scared some people in terms of giving me opportunities. Now I've had some opportunities, but there was one moment when my daughter, I came home with my backpack from the Division I and my bags, and I walked through the door, and my middle daughter, she's 6 years old, I believe, 5 or 6. I walked through the door and she says, "Daddy, you're staying at our house tonight." And that just broke my heart. And that was one thing of many that kind of said, let me find something that maybe I can still be competitive and stay at home, maybe make a good salary. Now, when I started here at East LA College, it was just a stipend. And I was able to work into a position where I'm a tenured faculty where, my salary now comes from teaching. It's like a high school coach in some places. You teach and then you get the stipend. So I get that teaching salary now. And so now I'm a teacher. And so now that makes it a little more comfortable. But at the time, my wife, she had to agree to it because she was a teacher and she was the breadwinner, man. And I said, you know what, if I do a good job here as a head coach, it'll help my resume and maybe this will roll into a teaching position. They said they'll never hire you as a faculty member there. Those jobs are hard to get, because they're college professor positions, but I was able to get it. And so it worked out. I've kind of betted on myself. And because of the success, they saw how I work with young men, not just on the basketball team, but around campus. And they thought I'd be valuable on campus and I got hired. And now I'm able to kind of stay at home with family. And I think that was the most important thing to me was family. It wasn't chasing, and I share many times, never take the money over the mission. Don't leave the mission, and which is helping people and making sure I'm staying with family and building family. Never take the money over the message. And the message is to continue to mentor and pour into other people's lives. And, sometimes at the Division I level, not that the coaches, they do a great job of it as well, but I find myself, if I'm in one of those positions, I may lose myself in trying to make sure I secure wins so that I can keep my salary versus pouring into those young men. And, not to take away from other coaches, they do a great job of doing it, but that just may be me.
I didn't have this on here, but I wanted to ask you that because you just mentioned Division I coaches. Do you get a chance to really watch very many Division I coaches because your season kind of intertwines with theirs, or do you have teams that you kind of keep up with, or no?
Haven't been able to, except for this year. Yeah. Because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like literally, it brings tears to my eyes to be able to watch the guys, which is the most satisfying thing to me. Watch the guys. I'm watching all these ESPNs I didn't know existed. All these apps, Big 10, Big 12, ESPN app, the 1, 2, 3, 4, all these ESPN apps and these different apps that I get a chance to watch. And so I did get a chance to watch a lot of coaches and coaching throughout this past year because of and it wasn't a fair assessment because of the pandemic, but I did get a chance to. But normally I don't, man. I'm so consumed. I'm so vested in those guys. I really don't have time to kind of look at anything else because it's either these guys or it's either family.
Yeah.
I didn't have much time.
So since you've been at East LA, you've had you've been blessed with immense success, which led you to being named one of the top 50 most impactful coaches in men's JUCO basketball. Explain what that honor meant to you when you were informed that you were going to get that.
Yeah, I think it just meant that I think I've done the right things. I'm more proud about the guys moving on than the wins. And I think the impactful side comes from the guys just transferring out and getting to the 4-year level. That means the most. Those wins, yeah, you put them in the record book and there you go. That's it. But I think what's going to matter most is if the impact that you had on lives. And I think, I hope that's what the honor meant, is that I made sure that the guys that were under me, they ended up in a better space. So
during your tenure, you just mentioned you've had a lot of wins. Your combined record is at 189 and 50. Is that what led Netflix to doing its most recent season of Last Chance U on you guys, or did they give you other reasons for making that decision, or was it like that and something else?
Well, they got a team that kind of reaches out, and I know there were some people that I heard may have turned it down. Although even myself, I was going to turn it down. But I think the dynamics of why I was at least one that they looked at is I thought they wanted to find another school in California. They had just done football in Northern in Oakland. I think they wanted to go, if you're going to go to California, there's a lot of nice places. So you would have to go to the inner city. And then when you think inner city, what sounds good? It sounds like Los Angeles. Okay, what's one of the best teams? Because the story has to come from one of the better teams in Los Angeles. And right now, we're probably, the last couple of years, we've been the best team or one of the best teams in Los Angeles. And when they looked at our stories and did research, they see our guys are transferring out, all of that to say, yeah, and then I'm an African-American coach. So I think all those dynamics was the reason why they reached out. I mean, the Netflix team is right here in Southern California. You know, I think their main office is in Santa Monica, and you know, all the producers and all of the directors, they all live less than 30 minutes. I mean, the creator of the show, I think he lives in San Diego, but everybody else, man, they were riding their mopeds and motorcycles to the job, you know. So they were enjoying that. So I think all that had played a part in it, which helped their budget. You know, yeah, it was more expensive to film out here on our properties, but at the same time, they didn't have to do all the travel and all that. So I think there was a lot of reasons why. I think those that made that happen. I mean, I think it helped. You know, hey, there's an African American guy that looks like he fits. I think having a different story fit. They like the aspect of my faith. I think to be able to share it, spin off from what how the other coaches' styles were. So I think all that played the part. And there were other coaches that probably had the same stuff, but they kind of just I think I was one that kind of agreed first, you know.
So yeah, you mentioned you had a little bit of reservations. Was there anything that you kind of told them like, hey, if it comes down to something like this, I'm not doing it?
Well, I just said, you know what? I just don't want to get. I'm thinking like, man, I don't want to do anything to get fired, and I'm just assuming that, you know what? I'm going to do something to get fired. My energy, my level of compassion, whatever it is, that someday I'm gonna do something to get fired. You know, there may have been 1% that I can remember, and they did a great job. They didn't put it in. Like I may have said one too many things that I shouldn't have said about our administration because I was upset and frustrated at maybe some funding or something. And I was like, shoot, I'm gonna get fired when they hear that. And they didn't put, that kind of stuff. And they did a good job, man. And I thought they did a good job of really not being over offensive in regards to my faith, because I was really dogmatic about some stuff and shared really scripture and almost down to preaching, and that probably would have been over the top. And I think they did a good job of really taking out, but leaving in enough so that it wasn't offensive.
So this is a two-part question here. So have you watched the show yet? And if yes, was there anything you felt was portrayed wrongly during the show, or something you wish maybe wasn't in it?
Yeah, I watched it. I actually got it maybe a week before they let me watch it. And I was watching it in apprehensive, like, oh gosh, this is going to be awful. I just was like, this is not going to be good, because it was just basic. I was just trying to just live normal. And I said, I'm going to be authentic. And I didn't think it was funny enough. I didn't think it was entertaining enough. I didn't think I was loving enough. It was just like, it was just awful. But yeah, I got a chance to watch it, and I don't think that they put anything that I had any issues with in there. My pastor is the one that kind of convinced me, and ultimately I was like, he said, I don't think that you're going to, because the worst thing I wanted to do was to get up there and change when cameras started to follow, change for the worse, and try to live out and try to continue to be an example. He said, I don't think you're going to do that, because I think you've shown already that you're going to live out the right way. And he was kind of right. Because I live with a camera on me. Like right now, I'm in my office by myself, and I live with a camera on me. I'm not going to do anything because there's a rehearsal, man, for life. And so I try to live out, those things. And with my family and all that, I don't act one way with my family and abusive or whatever. And then I get out in the world and I start shaking hands and I'm sensitive and I'm like, hey, but I'm a different person behind closed doors. So I tried to do that. And he said, no, you're going to live out your faith and you're going to live it out right. And so, I think they built the character around what's the most that they saw. And they just took all of the most of what they saw. They took that content and that's who I was. And they left out things like, okay, Mosley, he picked in his nose. We're not going to. Now, if I picked in my nose every day, that would have been who Mosley is. And so they would have put that in. But, I picked in my nose once. And then they took it out. They're like, that's not Mosley.
I'll see if I can cut that out in this one too, because I've seen you go at it a couple times here.
I know, yeah.
So
yeah.
You mentioned the football teams and stuff. I love football, but I mean, I'll tell you, I live in the Southern Indiana, Louisville area. So basketball's king here. Like I love basketball. So when I saw that they were doing a Last Chance U after I'd already loved the other seasons, but they were doing it on basketball, I was like, there's no way I'm going to miss it. I actually listened to part of your interview you did with the guy that released it today or yesterday. I'm sorry. And he mentioned that he binge watched it one day. The day it came out here, I got off work at 4:30. I went and got food and literally watched it until 3 a.m. That was when I messaged you or when I tweeted you and you DM'd me back because I was like, oh, it's only like midnight there or 11 o'clock there. So that's why he's writing me back. Yeah. But I say all that to say this. So during the filming of that, were there ever times that you were afraid of saying something in practice or during a game, not because you were afraid of like what you would say, but maybe because you would give away something that's part of a game plan or part of like a set or part of like a drill or something that maybe you didn't want someone else to know?
Yes. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Look, I was so worried about that. I said, well, next year everybody's going to know. And they didn't even show my intentions behind doing stuff. And so I was grateful for that. And I think they were strategic about doing that because it was the same with football. You kind of didn't really see play calls or like, because they could have just showed the play call and then show them executing it and it would have made the coach look good. Like, I was even like, man, we look like awful. Like, they made it look like we were getting beat off the dribble all the time. The end of the game, we're blowing guys out by 20. I'm like, man, show them how we really execute and how we blowing guys out. And you know what? They didn't. So a little bit of me is like, dang, man, I wish they would have showed how we can execute. But then at the same time, I was like, I'm glad they didn't. You know, like, say, for instance, and I'll give this away, but, and they purposely did it, which saved it. Like, they purposely did it. So in the show, we went on our retreat, and then I said, hey guys, create an out of bounds play and we'll run it in the game. So in the game, we called it Kobe Ranch. That was not the play. I called Kobe Ranch and we ran it in the game, but they took a shot of another play. And I think they purposely did it. Like, no, we're not going to give away any of your techniques or anything or any of your plays. And I was like, that wasn't Kobe Ranch. And all the guys, we were all like, and they strategically didn't put it in there. And I talked to one of the producers after. He said, no, we took it out. We weren't going to show your execution. They never, in the huddle, they're like, I'm never talking about anything schematic. It's always like, get back on defense, work hard. It's all like movie type stuff. Like, come on, guys, we got to fight, And
or even the ESPN sideline stuff when they do with coaches, it kind of reminds me of that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, I was like, they didn't really put anything in that gave away what a scheme was. Like, I can say, okay, we're going to wolf here or we're going to do this. And then we say we're going to go wolf. And then they see a double team. And then now everybody knows what our double team call is or something like that. So they didn't even know. They showed one play and I was loving it, about our offense of what we run. And it was against a team's our second to the last game. It was against Saddleback when KJ couldn't get going. And then all of a sudden, we ran a high post offense UCLA play. And then Joe had the ball, got it from the wing, and he threw a bounce pass into the post. And I'm like, that's what we do the whole game. We like every time they showed us like playing basketball or execute, it was all out of broken offense. I'm like, dude, they don't show our plays. They don't show that we're structured. They're not showing any of that. And then I was like, oh, they showed our play. But then I was thinking like, oh, I don't know if I want them to see it. They really showed how he ducked in and stepped in and sealed and opened up, caught the ball, he goes straight up and dunk. And it's like, dude, we run that stuff like 40, 50% of the time and nobody can stop it because we're one of the biggest teams in California. But they had to show like all the times that we screwed up, you know, and I'm like,
Well, yeah, it's funny to think about because it's like you want them to make you guys look good, but you also don't want them to give stuff away. So it is like a
yeah,
stuck between a rock and a hard place type thing.
yeah. But
So
they showed it was like to build up the show. They're like, and they're struggling. But then you look at the score in the background and we're up by like 25. And it's like, wait a minute. The music makes it sound like they're awful because, oh, we turned the ball over when we're up by 25. And I was like watching some film a week ago, and I'm like looking at how hard we played. And when I was like, it doesn't look the same on Last Chance U. It kind of made us look like we kind of, but it built the show up and it was great. So.
yeah. So one of the best parts, in my opinion, there's two parts that really kind of stuck with me. The part when you guys are in the weight room after one of the games and you kind of break down, and I've never coached at your level. I have coached, some high school and middle school and stuff, but it I hope players watch that and they really see that part and really listen to what you were saying, because I feel like kids nowadays, it seems like a lot of them, especially at the high school and level below that, they don't really appreciate or they don't realize that's what's really going on, especially going up to your level, because your level is really just the level right above high school.
Yeah.
And that part was so, and again, I don't want to try to compare myself to you, but I really appreciated hearing your side of that and you really getting that out there.
Yeah. Well, and I, some coaches, everybody has something to say. They gave me some flack. Some gave me some flack. So I said, let me make this clear. Yes, it is my job, and that's what I got paid to be there. But in the context of what was going on, the guys were complaining about the commitment that we are making towards excellence. Like, yeah, we could have said after the game, let's go home. They're complaining about the commitment that we made to scientifically put our workouts together. Like, strategically, well, we got to lift after the game. Well, yeah, the reason why we're having success and we don't have injuries and why we're stronger and is because we're doing these little extras that's helping us be successful and you having better success on the court. Yeah, we can go home after the game, but guess what? It's a Wednesday game. We're not going to lift on Thursday. Why? Because we play on Friday. And then we play on Friday, and then guess what? Saturday, we'll take the day off. So now we got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then maybe if we come on Sunday, we lose days of getting some level of work. But if you play in a basketball game on Wednesday, guess what? Some guys don't even play, right? So there's no workout. Some guy, and mostly every guy, is only 25 minutes you play.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you're not working that hard in a game. We got that all mixed up. And the NBA will tell you that. Those guys will go work out after a game, because why not combine it? Okay, you play 40 minutes. Why not tack on 30 more minutes of conditioning? And then you recover on the next day. So it's going to be the same recovery on the next day. So why say play 40 minutes NBA game and then come the next day and work out and then play the next day? The NBA is, dude, you're going to wear yourself out. So they're thinking like you're going to wear yourself out after the game. No, it's complete opposite. It's better to work out right after the game than recover the next day, right? And then go into another game. So the way we put it together and how we were organizing it, that's what I was upset about. Like, you're getting mad at me for making this. I would love to just say, team on 3, get out of here, go eat with the family, let's go out to dinner. Boom. Yeah. Yeah, I would have been there for the game. Yeah, but dude, I'm telling you, I'm missing my family. I'm missing my son's game. I'm missing committing, because I'm committing to all of these extra things. We practice on the weekends because we don't want to drop off. When the season comes, we play Wednesday, Friday. If we didn't practice on one of those days, come on, I don't have to be there.
Yeah.
But we're committing to the extra excellence and we're putting it together strategically. And you're mad because I'm strategically asking for extra, I can go and act like a big time coach and blame it on the kids if someone gets injured or whatever. So that was where that moment. And all I was trying to do is like, dude, I'm trying to get you out of here. I'm not trying to get you mad at me or pretend like I'm this great coach. I'm trying to have you prepared so that when you get on the biggest stage, that college coach can see you at your best.
So, what was the toughest part? I just got a couple more questions here. What was the toughest part of having to tell a team that was, looked to be destined to win a state title or at least compete for it, that they wouldn't be playing?
Well, I thought the biggest thing was I thought I let them down. I was really burdened with that because, we got into a point, if you look through, like all of the guys started to buy in. And even the story, the way they put it together, there's a buy-in from everybody. Even Joe Hampton. It's just everybody's bought in. But then I felt like I disappointed them and I had no control. I usually have a level of control in some way or somehow. And usually if we lose, right? Usually if we lose, I know the reason why. Maybe I didn't go over this enough, or maybe we had some injuries, or maybe we weren't good enough. We didn't have good enough players. But hey, there's only one coach that stands at the end of the year. There's only one coach that stands that can say, hey, great job, we won the whole thing. And so I'm in this space where we didn't even get the opportunity, and the guys were in the locker room, they're looking. Like they're really looking with a sense of hope, because I've always given them hope. I've always said, no, if you do what you're supposed to do, there's hope. And they still are hope, but I'm sitting there really looking like, I have nothing for you. I don't have anything for you. We can't. So I felt like I kind of let them down in that moment. But I truly did feel like they won. And I know that sounds kind of corny. Like, you guys are winners in my book. That sounds all corny, but I really felt like they did, because they figured out. I felt like they won because I knew that the next step that any of these guys made, that they would have a little bit more resilience. They would be able to respond to whatever adversity. And I shared with them, I wanted them to know that this is so painful, but hey, you know what? In a year from now, you're going to feel the same pain at somewhere else. Something else is going to happen in your life to be painful. So we just got to get through it. But I felt like that they had all won. They were ready to move on, but I had let them down because I didn't know how I was going to get them through. I didn't know how I was going to get them scholarships, but it all worked out. I lost you.
Did anyone joke with you about like anything you said or did in the show?
They were just joking about how I ran on the wall. And you know what? The first episode, I knew there was going to be moments where they saw a level of energy. And truly that's who I am. But I didn't know they were going to say, okay, this is Coach Mosley. Like literally in the first minute of the show, I'm like, oh man. Guys are texting me when they first saw, like, bro, you are climbing up. And a lot of coaches, like I really display a level of more calm and relaxed during games. So all of the coaches that I coached against, and they're texting me like, bro, you are turned up. I didn't realize you was this turned up. And I'm like, yeah, man, I guess you see it now, Man, I see why your teams play with so fierce and so physical and tough, and why you guys play so fast. They kind of see that part of me now that they didn't see, because I usually approach the game with a level of humility, realizing that, man, all of these guys can beat me. I'm a lot calmer on the sidelines as a coach. Like, because what am I to do? Like, there's nothing I can do in the game. So what I like to do in games is I like my guys to feel comfortable. And I'm just like, hey, man, okay, you made a mistake, whatever. If they don't play hard or something doesn't work out, it's like, what can I do? Scream at them? No. Just scream at them in the game. It's nothing I can do about it. They're on the court. So I want them to at least feel comfortable to go out there and play. So I'm more laid back, and I think that's what the world sees in games. And I think I had issues with that. when I was growing up as a player, I had issues when a coach would embarrass you during games, and so I never would like to embarrass the players or scream at them or overdo it during the games. I didn't perform well if a coach embarrassed me. And so I've always taken to that. And I never want to embarrass a player. I never want to call them out. Even guys are like, how can you let Joe act like that? Well, never. I don't want to address that during a game. I'll address it afterwards.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I am. And so no one ever knew the intensity level in which the passion in which I coach with. And so I think that's what kind of stood out most to a lot of people when they watched it.
So what I have to ask this, because this is something that is one of the funnier parts of the entire episode. What did you think about the fact that the part with Mark has gone viral?
Oh man, initially I was like, oh gosh, man.
I think it's hilarious, if I'm being honest.
It's hilarious. But at the moment, I'm sharing and we're talking in the room, and I'm sharing. First of all, I'll always build up to the guys a chip on the shoulder. So I'm trying to put a chip on the shoulder of everybody. And I'm like, man, nobody cares about you, man. You're on this campus, you African Americans. And then I was like, oh, shoot. And then Mark, plus Mark, So I'm thinking like, I can't have Mark feel uncomfortable, but then it probably made him feel more uncomfortable that I said plus Mark. I would have said the same thing even if the cameras weren't there, but that was the moment. I thought, yeah, that was funny. But I said, yeah, I'm rocking with Mark because Mark was committed, and he even said it. It was tough, but he was a phenomenal teammate, man, in the role that he took, and now he's in Missouri somewhere playing. I mean, so Mark, he was great, man. He was a great player, great teammate. We just have so many guys, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you think Deshaun is a Division I transfer, and then Jordan is a 6'6". He was a 6'6" wing that started for us, and then we had all these guys, and then we had Scooter, and then it was just so many guys. But Mark was phenomenal, man, and guys like that, they hold more place in my heart than some of the guys that get a chance to play the 30 minutes, because I was in that position. I was one of those guys, and I had to deal with that for moments in my career. And so guys like that hold a special place in my heart. And I'm going to make sure I always take care of guys like that, and had to make sure he got to a great place. I actually ran into Mark about a week ago. We connected and all that. And so I told him we forever connected. He was like, yeah, it's all good with me, man. Everybody's talking about that it's a meme, it's a TikTok thing, it's everything,
Yeah.
Millions of views. I'm like, how does something like that become?
Yeah, I mean, there was two parts that really made me laugh. That part really made me laugh, and then there was a part right in like the first minute when somebody said, "Man, you just got dunked on, and it's gonna be on Netflix or something like that." It's like, or you just got you just got dunked on Netflix. And I thought that I was like, that might be the line of the entire show, and then the part where he said, "And Mark," because he's rock. I was like, nope, that's the line of the show.
Yeah.
So I got one more question, then I got rapid fire questions, man, and I'll get you out here because I know you're busy. Were you involved in the screening, like in editing part or in anything, like maybe like at the end or it was just like, hey, this is what we got, this is what we're going with in the show, and you maybe had to sign things at the beginning to say, whatever's in there is in there?
Absolutely. It was absolutely zero. And you know what, man, I was so worried about that, but they did a great job. They kept telling me, Mosley, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And I'm sitting up here like, no, I didn't think it was going to be. But ultimately, yeah, they said, yeah, it's going to be great. So, I'm so grateful that it was, but I had absolutely none, man. Input, I couldn't tell them what to put in and whatnot. Hey, there was a time, me and my assistant coach, we were in the office and we were scared to death. Because, hey, we were like bagging on like LeBron James, right?
Yeah.
And I was so worried. And as I say that, my assistant just walked in the office. But we were bagging on LeBron James, but at the time, he didn't win the championship, right? So we're kind of like, I love the fact that LeBron is here in LA, but it's like, well, he didn't win a championship yet. Like he's not the king of LA yet. But then the show comes out and now he's the king of LA. And I'm like, dude, I shouldn't have, we were back. And it wasn't nothing. It was just, we were just bagging on him kind of. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to put it in the show. Because they told us, they was like, that bit was so funny. And then they didn't put it in. And we, so there was times they didn't put stuff in. But we thought they were going to put it in. They kind of joke with us and mess with us, and it didn't happen. So it was good.
So the last part here is rapid fire questions. You familiar with rapid fire questions?
If I'm not, I
ask you a question. You say the first thing that comes to your mind. My rapid fire questions are sponsored by one of my sponsors, Mike and Cheese. It's the best macaroni cheese here in the Southern Indiana, Louisville area. They deliver to all Southern Indiana and Louisville. Trays start at $10. It's a $15 minimum for delivery. You can get them at 502-548-6845. Try the beef pizza mac. It's on. I sent you.
Hey, can they send me? Will they FedEx me some mac and cheese? Me and my daughter are mac and cheese connoisseurs, man.
I'm gonna tell you what.
Tell them
I'm gonna try to. I have my own macaroni and cheese with him. It's like this guy's like my brother, and he has a mac and cheese truck. So he has a smoked Gouda mac. He has one that he calls his mama's mac. Ooh. He has mine. It's pizza mac. It's got pepperoni and Italian sausage with, it's.
Tell them we are mac and cheese connoisseurs. Me and my daughter love the when it's multiple cheeses. So we like the multiple cheese. And all of them. Yes, let's go. And does he caramelize it a little bit of crust?
Yeah. So he has toppings. He has toppings with. He has chicken. He has drizzle and stuff you can put on top of it as well. He does garlic crab. He does barbecue chicken. He also has an Alfredo mac. I can't believe I forgot about that. The Alfredo mac was my favorite before he made mine.
Okay.
But
all right,
here we go. Rapid fire questions. Favorite pregame meal as a coach?
You know what? I got to go with the Subway.
Subway. Pizza or tacos?
Yeah. What's that?
Pizza or tacos?
Ooh. I'm gonna have to go with tacos. It appears kind of more healthy, so I'm about to go with tacos. It can be more healthy.
Wings or burgers?
Oh, wings.
All right. Now here's the real question: drums or flats?
You talking about in wings?
Yeah.
Shoot.
I mean, they're both obviously good, but there's one that's more superior to the other.
I'm gonna have to go with the drums, man.
All right, this is a big one for me right here, man. This is gonna decide whether we're friends or not.
Okay.
French fries or tater tots?
Ooh, I think I know what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna have to go with fries.
Thank you. No, I'm not saying tater tots.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say tater tots. I'm gonna go with fries. It's too much potato for me. I need a little bit more crunch and
exactly. That's the argument I always have. If you get a soft French fry, it's not as good as a crunchy one. But if you get a soft tater tot, it's absolutely terrible.
It's awful. Absolute. Thank you. Okay, there we go. Yes. I thought you was gonna say tater tots.
No,
I thought it was gonna be like an Indiana thing, man.
No, it's not. So favorite movie.
Favorite movie? Oh, you got me stuck there. I might have to say Last Chance U now, but I like Remember. I like sports stuff. I would say Remember the. Oh, there's so many. I might say Remember the.
All right. Biggest fear.
Biggest fear is probably losing. I worry about losing more than I worry about winning.
Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh, man, I'm embarrassed to say last night, man, pralines and cream all day. Last night, pralines and cream. I act like it's for my kids, but, hey.
All right. What's your favorite restaurant in the city of LA?
Favorite restaurant in the city of LA. You know what? I might give a shout out. We went last night. As a matter of fact, it's this Italian spot called Caruso's. True Italian. Yep. I won't go with a franchise. I'm gonna go with that one.
Nice.
Yep. Or wait. Yeah, that one. And then we throw in Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle. I'm gonna have to hit them up as well.
I've actually heard of Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle.
Yeah, Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle. So nice chicken and waffle soul food spot. Hey, it's better than Waffle House. I'm gonna say that.
I don't doubt you at all. Who's your favorite basketball player ever?
Magic Johnson, man. Magic. I'm an MJ fan, but Magic is my inspiration of how I see the game. That's how I saw the game, like Magic Johnson. So Magic, minus the defense. I play better defense than man, but minus the defense. But Magic Johnson, yeah.
Who's your favorite athlete ever? Doesn't have to be basketball. Just be your favorite athlete ever.
Oh, that's a good one. It might be, man. I wish I would have seen Bo Jackson play out, but it might be, it might be LeBron. It might be LeBron. It's hard to, it might be LeBron Jordan, but it might be LeBron. He just, not my favorite player, but he's might be the favorite athlete.
Just because of the things he does off the court as well.
The things he's done, and he would have dominated any sport, I think.
Yeah.
Jordan, you can't say that, but I think LeBron would have dominated any sport. I mean, like a wide receiver, come on, man.
All right, so back in your playing days, who's the best player you faced in high school, the best player you faced in college, and the best player you played professionally?
High school, I think it might have been Harold Miner. That dude would play for USC, and he was a year or two older.
Baby Jordan, isn't that what they called him?
Yeah, Baby Jordan. The best player I faced in college, being at the NAI, I might have to say, as I shared with you, my buddy, Mike, which slapped me in the face towards the level. My buddy Mike Penberthy, man, he was. When I played against him, I was like, "There's one of the coldest white boys I ever played against," and that changed my mind towards how much good players were out there. And then professionally, I played against, man, there was a player that played, man. His name was Sam Crawford. He was a guard. It was hard. Sam Crawford. He was a guard from Moore Park Community College. He went to, where did Sam, New Mexico State or New Mexico, one of those. And then we played somewhere. I forgot where we played, but that dude, he was small. He was like 5'9", 5. He was the hardest dude to play against, man. There were some guys that were good, but he was hard for me to play against. Yeah. It was hard for me to play against him. Yeah, Sam Crawford. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, in terms of guys I've actually faced and I just that left in terms of guys that left a scar, you know what I'm saying? I can't remember. I probably played against other guys, but those are guys that left a scar, in high school. Harold Miner. Well, let me match up. Harold Miner, that's let me say who left a scar on me was Jock Vaughn in high school.
From Kansas.
From Kansas. The reason why is because he was 2 years younger than me in high school. So that was a high school player. Harold Miner was 2 years older than me. So he was supposed to do that. He was 6'6", and I was only 5'11", Jock Vaughn, we were the same height. He left a scar because I was a senior. And I was like, oh, he's pretty good. And then they were like, yeah, he's a 10th grader. And I was like, oh. I was like, oh, yeah, he just kind of worked me, and he was a 10th grader. So he left a scar. So in terms of guys who left a scar, yeah, I would say Jock Vaughn, high school, college, and my buddy, and then Harold Miner, and then I'm sorry, Sam Crawford, as a pro.
All right, my last question for you, and I'll let you go. Who is the best player you've ever coached against?
The best player I've ever coached against. I might have to say this as an assistant coach. I was playing, and I actually had to do part of the scout. I was at Cal State Bakersfield, and one of the best players was Lance Stephenson. We go and play him at Cincinnati. And that dude was big and New York unguardable. It was just hard. And college is harder to score because it's hard to score. And he had all free reign, and it was just, he was hard to guard. So I think that was one of the toughest guys to coach against. Yeah.
Now his old coach is out there with you guys.
He's out here at UCLA. Yeah.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you so much, man. And, following up with everything from, our Twitter conversation and all that. I thank you so much for taking time out for me and answering the questions as honestly as you can, which is honestly what I expected you to do after watching you on that show.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks for having me, man. Hit me up anytime.
For sure. I'll have to get with you about that mac and cheese to see if we can maybe get something working.
Please make it happen. Hey, even if I got to pay for a 1-day shipping, overnight shipping, I want to taste it. Me and my daughter, this is what's crazy. Me and my daughter are mac and cheese connoisseurs. My wife can't eat it. It bothers her stomach.
Yeah.
My youngest daughter is so. My son, he will throw up with any type of cheese. It's just like, dude, what kid doesn't like cheese? All right. But I think all of that, it came off on him and it goes on my daughter, Mariah. Me and her, we mac and cheese freaks. And actually,
I love like
Chick-fil-A actually figured out a good little mac and cheese too. Like there's certain mac and cheeses we love. So anyway,
absolutely.
I would love to get some.
Absolutely, Coach. We'll figure it out. I'll get with you maybe through email or through Twitter or whatever. We'll get something figured out.
Brandon, thanks, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Peace.